Welcome to the Real Estate 401k Show. Here are your hosts, Ryan Gertis, Mike Weinstein, and Justin Frederick, helping you build a legacy of wealth through real estate. Powered by the Recon Group at West USA and the Frederick team with Fairway Mortgage. NMLS number 625918.
You know, guys, it dawned on me. We've never dedicated an episode to anyone. We never said, "Hey, this episode is dedicated to so and so."
Nope.
Well, today's episode is dedicated to all you trollers out there.
Because apparently we have a few.
Yeah.
We've got a few.
Yeah. We know who you are because you troll all of our social media sites, and some of you have the lamest comments and ideas and concepts, thinking that we're a bunch of morons and we're a bunch of idiots, which probably is not too far off from the
It's
truth.
half true.
But when it comes down to real estate, I would have to disagree with that statement. We have been talking about it over and over and over. Despite the noise, this is the time to buy real estate. And don't just take our word for it. You can take Dave Ramsey's word for it. He's
That's
the
a big
big,
name.
he's
Huge.
the big cheese out there.
That's
He's
right.
the one who knows. So on June 20th, Dave Ramsey came out. He was featured in an article basically saying that, well, buying a new home right now, this is a great time to buy. Interest rates are up and the real estate market has slowed down. It's still increasing. There's still a shortage of housing. Regardless of the interest rate, I want you, and this is Dave Ramsey talking, I want you to go out and buy. Because later, if the interest rates come back down, you are not stuck. You're just going to refinance and dump that. And talking about interest rates, or talking about inventory, that to me is the kicker. As of June 27th, when we hopped into the studio and we recorded this, there were in Maricopa County, and I understand that we have listeners from all around the country and all around the world, but we're talking about Maricopa County, basically the Phoenix area here in Arizona, single-family homes in our MLS that were active or coming soon status, 6,237.
That's incredibly low.
And just to kind of give you a frame of reference on that, we should have at least 3 times that just to have a balanced market.
Well, a lot of people talk about, 2008, this is going to happen all over again. We had 58,000 homes on the market in 2008. This is not 2008.
And I read somewhere, and I'm just going to throw out stats now, we're making them up, but from a lot of the economists and the experts that I talk to and I follow, really for a true balanced market in Maricopa County or in Arizona, we need at any given time about 28,000 active homes. Now, that would encompass everything, townhomes, condos, patio homes, and things like that. Everything that's in the MLS right now that's in Maricopa County is around 12,000. But for our purposes, we're typically looking, Ryan, at single-family homes.
Right. And that's all good. But, as we're talking about really developing your real estate 401k, let's kind of bring this into perspective. So if you're an investor out there and maybe this doesn't really apply to you, the moral of the story is still the same. Because it does affect what your end user is consuming. So if you're a flipper out there, you need to know these numbers because, well, ultimately you're probably going to be selling to somebody who is going to be using it as either a primary or maybe even a secondary home, because 9 times out of 10, as an investor, you're not going to sell a flipped product over to another investor. So the idea being that just you need to have your thumb on the pulse of what the market is doing at all times.
All right, well, and if you thought we were crazy, but now you're like, hey, if Dave Ramsey says so, these guys must know a little bit of something, and you want to talk about real estate, you want to have a strategy session, learn about the home buying process here in the great state of Arizona, all you got to do is text the word home to 623-AZ-RECON. Again, text the word home to 623-AZ-RECON. Here's the kicker, and this is where I think if Dave Ramsey was in studio, and Dave, we would love for you to come and join us one day, right down here, next time you're in Phoenix. Just roll into town.
We'll let you come in.
Does anybody know, does he like a cocktail?
I'm sure he does. Come on.
I mean, he's living, breathing man. I don't know. He's got to.
Well, we might have a case or 3 sitting in the office. But Justin, I think where the opportunity lies, and we talk about it all the time, the interest rate is just the number. But where Dave is alluding to is just, it's a very specific place in time for us where inventory is so low, but yet interest rates are higher than what most people like. It keeps so many people on the fence because they're so focused on the interest rate, not focused on the overall strategy, not focused on the overall opportunity. But with the high interest rate and people sitting out and sitting on the sidelines, it really creates a perfect opportunity for the buyer. And that's where I think Dave Ramsey is coming from, saying jump in the game right now, because you're not going to have, once interest rates drop, these opportunities are going to be gone.
Well,
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, and just to go off with, I know a lot of our clients look at the interest rate and look at the payment, and they see it as a gamble to wait for the interest rates to drop. But keep in mind, we're still qualifying you based on your current income and making sure that you can afford it based on the qualifications of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA. So you do qualify for the loan. Yeah, you might be stretching the payment a little bit, but it should be a short time, 8 to 12 months. And we say it all the time, date the rate, marry the home. It's Dave Ramsey's saying that in a nutshell, basically here as well. Get in right now, because you're absolutely right. As soon as those rates drop, we're going to have a frenzy again. We're going to see properties appreciate. The home that you're buying now, most likely the value is going to be much higher in a couple of years.
So let's be honest, Dave. You have a very conservative investment approach, which I'm good with in a lot of different scenarios. So as we're talking about first-time home buyers, because let's be honest, the rate is who affects the first-time home buyer is the consumer that's being affected the most by interest rates. The folks that are doing the luxury products or the custom home builds are either paying cash or they already know this information that we're talking about. So a 7.25% interest rate doesn't scare them. So as we're talking about this, not just for the fact of having a conservative investment approach, the whole idea behind Reconomics, if you really do want to scale up, if you're house poor the entire time you're going through your first property, it's going to severely affect your timelines on when door number 2 comes along, whether or not interest rates go down in the 4s again or not. Because if you already have every penny that you have going towards your interest rate, yeah, you're going to save several hundred, maybe even $1,000 a month, but that's really not going to get you anywhere as far as being able to afford door number 2 maybe 3 years down the road.
As much as I agree with you, I think the caveat I'd like to throw in there, I think it's more than just first-time home buyers. Where I'm feeling, where I'm getting a lot of pushback are the second-time home buyers who bought a home and they've got an interest rate of 2.75 or 3.25, and now that sticker shock. My last home I got 3.25. Now I'm looking at 6.5 or 7.25. It's that sticker shock for those people.
It's too new to them, right? It's not like this is 10
This
years.
is the real world,
yeah,
guy.
It's not 10, 15 years later that they're seeing this number. This is 2 short years ago. We were seeing numbers in the 3s, right? Or maybe even the high 2s.
Well, I'm seeing it on investor side quite a bit as well, because we're at the top of the rate sheet for the investment properties. So you're talking about you have to pay a minimum of a point to get into an investment property unless you have that 25, 30% down. Then you're going to pay a little bit less than a point, but there's still points involved with those purchases. So we're seeing this as well, but most of our investors are biting the bullet and still moving forward.
Talk a little bit more about that rate sheet thing, because I don't know that everyone knows about off-sheet pricing.
So there's not a lot of off-sheet pricing right now. So when we have a lot of consumers think that when we have rates, there's just one rate, and that's completely inaccurate. We have a grid of interest rates. So you can pay points to buy down the rate. You can take higher rates to get premium pricing. And in most cases with a primary home purchase, you can take a higher rate and possibly pay 1-2% of your closing costs with that higher rate. So there's people that are knowledgeable about the market right now and knowing that interest rates are going to drop. So those are the type of people that are knowledgeable about the market that are taking the higher interest rates to pay for their closing costs because there's no recoup time. They're willing to pay more monthly so that they don't have the upfront closing costs. so that when they do go to refinance and they're paying the fees, then they'll buy down the interest rate when the rates are lower. Does that make sense?
All right, it's enough to give me a headache, but and probably you as well. But we'd love to break this down for you. We'd love to have this conversation with you, show you the way that we see real estate. And if you'd like to have that conversation, all you got to do is text the word home to 623-AZ-RECON. That's home to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, guys, I want to end this episode with just go ahead and play devil's advocate for me. Because our clients, I think, are the greatest devil advocate people on the face of the planet, right? Because they're just consumed with interest rates and as recession, as the market crashing and so forth. Outside of somebody flat out losing their job and losing their income, what are the risks? What are the risks of jumping in the game and buying a house right now?
I think that the story for a long time from very optimistic investors or optimistic people that have knowledge of the market were always saying, well, the rate's going to come back in 6 months. You're going to see it in the fours. And I'm sitting back thinking, well, when we only have
237
properties, how is inflation ever going to settle down enough for the secondary mortgage market to say let's decrease rates?
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I mean, like, I obviously have my own argument that says otherwise. The only other thing that I would say about that is I didn't think it would take 6 months for rates to rebound. I don't even think Justin thought it would take 6 months, even though there was a lot of very well-renowned economists saying so.
Like me.
I
was just saying so.
I still don't see rates softening until 2024 at the earliest.
Okay, but let's just say in your scenario, let's say they did. Let's say we wake up, I wait to buy a home. I wake up September 15th, and now rates are in the high fours. The risk of waiting, Justin, how much money, even though I'd have a higher interest rate today, how much money am I possibly leaving on the table as property values skyrocket?
Well, I'm gonna kind of switch gears here. Let's back up 2 years. 2021. How many FHA buyers got into a home? How many VA buyers got into a home? How many down payment assistance buyers were able to win a home? So that's what I want to focus on with our listeners. If you're a VA, FHA, or down payment assistance individual, 100% right now is your time to buy, because you're not competing with 30 people on each property. Whereas as soon as those rates turn down and you start getting people that are jumping back in the game because the monthly payments are lower, you're out. You're out because you're competing with money, with conventional loans, with people with large down payments, and you're going to be in trouble because
this is your only option.
This is your only option.
I think one of the other risks that people think is, what if interest rates never drop? I don't. When I look at the history of real estate, you can't convince me that interest rates will never drop again. And I think people go, oh, well, if I get into this high interest rate today, I'm going to get stuck with this interest rate for the life of the loan. I just don't, the way how cyclical our real estate market is. And when you take a look at history leaves clues. Interest rates go up, interest rates go down. Interest rates go up, go down. We're just in a very specific period of time where the high interest rate right now and low inventory just allows you to get an incredible deal on a home.
Let's say the interest rates do go up, though, and let's say they continue going up. Well, are you going to buy a home then? How are you going to buy a home then? I mean, you got to have shelter. If interest rates continue to rise, what's rental costs going to do? They're going to go up as well.
Well, so that being said, playing true devil's advocate, for several months now, or even the up to year to date, it has been cheaper to rent than it has been to own.
Yeah, absolutely, unless you have a massive down payment, right? I mean,
if you're a first or second time home buyer,
correct.
Unless you're liquidating door number one in order to buy door number two, which why would you get rid of door number one when you have a 2.75 interest rate?
That
doesn't work for me at all, right?
Right.
Then you need to come up with that 25, 30, sometimes 40% before you start cash flowing.
All right. Well, we're going to give you the opportunity to have a free consultation with one of our real estate wealth managers here at the Recon Group. And of course, we will introduce you to Justin if you want to go down that avenue of obtaining a mortgage and obtaining a loan for your next purchase. But it does start by you texting the word HOME to 623-AZ-RECON. Again, text the word HOME to 623-AZ-RECON. And we got our phone standing by.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate 401k Show. If you want more information on how to build wealth, click on the link or text us at 623-297-3266. That's 623-AZ-RECON.